The number one story, of course, those net migration figures yesterday announced by the government, 606,000 people into this country. And whatever side of the fence you sit on, it is a system that is not working. The infrastructure is broken. Of course, we should, as a country, show our best, as we did, I think, during Ukraine. But I will bang on and on and on about this. If you are anywhere in this UK struggling right now to pay your mortgage, pay your rent, buy your shopping, food, put your kids, get an appointment, it's really disconcerting to imagine. This kicked off big style yesterday, by the way. I have to keep playing this. A dinghy failing, which means it was sinking, full of 50 migrants, be they legal or illegal, we would suspect illegal, but I don't know, was in French waters. And actually, the French arrived, a warship arrived to pick them up, to show compassion and to take them to France. Basically, the migrants said, no, we do not want to cut. They didn't say it like that because they're not French. They said, we want to go to Britain. So do you know what we did? We sent a boat and we picked them up and we brought them back here. They're not awake yet. They're in a hotel in Dover. I know you're on the way to work and you're frustrated. This, my friends, was the French Navy and the British Navy having a chat about those poor 50 people.
We asked to the dinghy if they need assistance. They say to me no. They want UK assistance.
Waiting for UK assistance. We are, in present now, happy to effect our rescue.
Can I just read very quickly? Roger. Navy captain offering to pick them up were a complete joke. Same as the RNLI. It is a joke. We are soft. I'm delighted to be joined now by former Brexit Party MEP Ben Habib, and in the studio showing true commitment with a new beard, former Labour MP Simon Danczuk. Good morning, Simon.
Good to be here.
Good morning, Ben. How are you?
Morning, very well, thank you. How are you, Jeremy?
I'm so irate. I'm having to try and keep a tab. I'm actually going to start differently. I'm going to Simon Danczuk because even you were shaking your head. Royal Navy, French Navy, that clip, 50 migrants in French waters. Oh, we don't want to go to France, we want to come here. I would suggest, without being accused of everything, the thought of perhaps a 4-star hotel in Dover, sob what's happening with the British people, is preferable to a tent on a beach in Calais. This has got to stop, hasn't it, Si?
Totally unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. And the migration figures are unacceptable. It's out of control and it's unsustainable. 7 million people entered this country, stayed in this country over the last 20 years. That's 7 times Birmingham, and that's the reality of it. And no party or government has got a handle on it by any stretch of the imagination.
Ben, several people contacting the show, millions contacted the show saying this is a joke, but several this morning saying politicians of whatever political persuasion have no desire to sort this out because, A, they probably want to jump up and down and shout about it, but they know that they can't get it sorted during their time or whatever, so they don't really do anything more than complain about it. We know that the Tories, with the greatest respect, 2015, 2017, 2019, will take control of our borders, will bring down our immigration figures. It doesn't happen, does it, Ben Habib?
No, I mean, the Tories are fantastic at the sound bites, aren't they? They're fantastic about engendering new economies, bringing everyone, upskilling everyone, automating, cutting back illegal migration, powering the economy forward. You hear all these kind of throwaway lines, but actually when it comes down to the fundamentals of governance, they utterly fail. And, you know, what we saw yesterday in the Channel was only symptomatic of what's been going on for years. We've all known this. You know, the RNLI has in effect been aiding and abetting people coming across from France. These people are not in distress often when they're picked up in their dinghies. Border Force does no such thing as the name suggests. It acts as a glorified taxi service. They see these people coming across from France not as correctly as Suella Braverman describes it, as an invasion of the United Kingdom, because remember, these people are not coming from countries where they're in danger. They're coming from
let me jump in. That's my point. Yeah. Every time I have this debate, guys, people say to me, yes, but hold on a minute, you don't understand. They're coming from war-torn countries. So I would say to those 50 migrants yesterday, France is not war-torn. Why didn't you get on their bloody ship? Because you know we're soft and you know we're going to give you a better deal. And that's not in any way meant to disrespect the people who, and we proved it during Ukraine, who need our help. But those people don't need our help. Those people are taking advantage because we're too soft, aren't they?
Absolutely. And they see this problem through some kind of humanitarian crisis prism. It's not a humanitarian crisis. These people are safe. They're in France. We are not obliged to take them into the United Kingdom. And we have lots of safe routes, by the way, for genuine refugees in countries with which we have relationships, as evidenced with Hong Kong, Ukraine, etc. And the notion that there should be safe routes from France to the United Kingdom, I mean, it's ridiculous because there are already millions of safe routes. You can come on Eurostar, you can jump on a plane, or you can catch a ferry. You don't have to get in a dinghy. And these people are genuinely breaking the law in order to get into the United Kingdom, and Border Force should do its job. I've been saying this for 2 years. You cannot solve this problem through ever more convoluted domestic legislation. You have to solve this problem through force at the border. Border Force has to turn these boats back.
I agree, and I want to bring you insight. We sit here and we talk about the infrastructure's wrong. We need better processing. We need better detention. We need this. We need that. You're an ex-Labour politician. To me, it goes beyond this now. I think this is like the NHS. I think people need to get their heads together and sort it out. Are we too soft? I'm with Ben.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I think a lot of it is about the Home Office, the civil service within the Home Office refusing to do the job. I think that's the reality.
The blob.
Of it. The blob, as it's now called. That's right. And they won't. It's right. They won't process them. I was looking at the figures. We removed 38,000 people last year. That's the lowest level outside the pandemic that we've ever removed from the country. That's foreign criminals and failed asylum seekers. 38,000, the lowest in our history. So we're not processing people, we're not removing them, but it's because civil servants won't take instruction from government. So you've an elected government. Suella Braverman, to her credit, is probably the nearest best Home Secretary we've had. But
and this is really interesting. This is from an ex-Labour MP. This is what we get. Suella Braverman uses dreadful language and these poor people in oppressed countries. I'm going to keep saying it because people will phone up and say, oh, you're being a bit unfair. No, I'm not being unfair, right? I completely get if you are, this would be my opinion, gentlemen, if you are escaping a war-torn country, then absolutely I acknowledge and accept that. If you are an Albanian male criminal, if you are a person who's torn up your documentation, if you're of the mindset, because we're as soft as I nearly said the wrong word in this country, that actually you're going to get a better deal, you can disappear because they don't get processed, you can get a hotel, then you're going to go to Great Britain. I talk from the point of view, both of you, from the point of view of this country and the people in this country. And it is about time politicians faced up to the reality that people are sick to death of how hard it is and how we seem to favour others. And I know, you know, when you say charity begins at home, people don't like that. That's how people are beginning to feel, Ben, across the political spectrum, whatever anybody else thinks.
I mean, I don't think it's the beginning of that feeling. I think people are absolutely apoplectic about what's going on. We've got broken public services. We've got taxation at a record high. We've got inflation coming down now, but was at a 40-year high. We've got government debt completely through the roof, again, post-World War II high. Everything's broken. Nothing is working in the United Kingdom, and yet we take this completely limp attitude to people coming into the country illegally.
I think limp's a really good description, isn't it? So we seem to... I mean, do you go with politicians don't want to sort it? Ben's of the mindset, and other people are, that actually...
No, I think politicians do. I think some politicians do. I don't think the situation would be any better under a Labour government. I think there are politicians like Suella Braverman who do want to sort it, but they are railing against a civil service that just aren't prepared to do what they're asked.
But we keep talking about the blob. We keep talking about unelected officials who work probably 3 days a week from home. Why, Ben, have we got it? I mean, is it time the civil service was attacked?
I'm very reluctant to blame the blob. You know, I think that's an abrogation of responsibility by government. They used to blame...
Hold on a second, but Ben, if you can't get your stuff through because a bunch of civil servants won't implement it, how are you supposed to beat that machine?
But that's just a failure in governance, isn't it? We've had the Conservative Party in office for 13 years. If ministers haven't learned how to manage the civil service yet, if they haven't got a grip of that, that should have been their first priority if that was the problem. They should have resolved it. And I'm sick of people passing blame on. We have a cabinet, we have a government, we have ministers. Their job is to deliver their manifesto promises. One of those manifesto promises was to take control of our borders. It was a really important promise. They failed to do it. the buck stops. I love Suella. I think she's the best in the cabinet. But the buck stops with the Home Secretary. Suella has to get a grip of this. And they've got to stop seeing this problem through a prism of domestic legislative deterrent. They've got to understand that this is a physical problem with people physically coming into the country, and Border Force has to do what the name suggests, which is to turn those boats back at the point of entry of our territorial waters. They should certainly not be entering French territorial waters to pick up the boats. That's the opposite of deterrence. That is like issuing an open invitation to anyone who wants to come into the United Kingdom. And can I just say, Simon, it's delightful to hear what you have to say, which is a completely commonsensical approach to this problem. If I may say so, you're the first Labour politician I've heard speak in such a sort of sensible manner.
It's probably why he's not in the It's probably why he's not in Parliament. I mean, my mouth dropped open. You are saying, as an ex-Labour MP, that Suella Braverman, who has been absolutely castigated for, I think, grasping by the nettle what the British public are concerned about, she's been slaughtered by the blob. I'm sort of with you about the blob. I understand, Ben. This isn't meant to be disrespectful, but I remember talking once to a cabinet minister who will remain anonymous, and I said, "Why are you giving up?" And this person said, I went into politics to make a difference. And the higher I went, the more I realised that the machinations, that was the word, of Whitehall are so completely draining that at the end of the day I won't achieve anything. I hope Suella Braverman, who, by the way, I think is going to continue to rise and will become like Kemi Badenoch, the right of the party. I think it's extraordinary to hear you say that. What would your ex-colleagues think?
I don't know. Well, I think they would condemn me for saying it, but the reality is she's prepared to get a grip on this issue. And I'll remind you, the situation is worse than we realise, because 606,000 net migration doesn't include those entering the country undetected. So I meet in London Albanians who've never been detected, and they're working under the radar. I drive to Dover with my children for a holiday, and I see illegal immigrants running through the fields entering the country. They're not in the figures. These people aren't in the figures.
Can I throw to you both something very quickly? It's a bit of a bugbear of mine. I don't think you'll agree with me. I don't understand this whole thing that says, I'll tell you what we need to do. We need these migration. We need these people because we've got no skilled workers. Now, here's the problem that I have. We have 1.1 million job vacancies, and we have in prison, and before anybody starts, these people are not mentally ill or disabled. We have 1.3 million people who can't work. I don't think they want to work. We're paying tax to pay their benefits. Why don't we spend the 6 million quid we spend a day on hotels for illegal immigrants to give them, I don't know why I'm pointing in that direction, the people who are on the long-term dole, some skills to get them, Ben Habib, back to work. Benefits them, benefits society, money well spent. Is that right or wrong?
Well, we are practicing. We're a first world country practicing third world economics. You know, we import cheap, unskilled labour to fill jobs rather than educating our own, automating systems and upskilling our population. It's the easiest thing to do, isn't it? Just to let in unbridled, unskilled immigration to solve the problem. By the way, we've got 5.9 million people on some shape or form of universal credit. It's a complete breakdown. It's a breakdown in the labour market. And the reason they're on some form of universal credit is because it doesn't pay to work. And it doesn't pay to work because we have an economy that's not growing, and we have tax rates that are completely through the roof. It makes much more economic sense actually to collect benefits than to go out to work. Now, if you create that kind of economic incentive, the economy is bound to collapse, and you're bound to then have to rely, again, as I've repeated, the risk of repeating myself, on unskilled labour being imported to fill these jobs. It's a complete breakdown in our economic ecosystem.
Completely agree, Simon Danczuk.
I think you're on something. We have 9 million people of working age who are economically inactive. Some of them will be students and other things. It is about getting them back into work, and that's what Suella Braverman, returning to the issue, she said it should be UK people who are picking fruit, and that was derided at PMQs this week by Keir Starmer. We need some joined-up thinking on this. Suella Braverman, I am something of a champion for her. She is saying, let's get British people picking fruit, driving lorries, doing those jobs, and that's what we need to do. 9 million people economically inactive who are of working age in this country.
I'll finish it by saying this, and fantastic. When I left school a long time ago, I'm older than both of you, I think, just about. You went to college, university, or you went to work. I don't care whether I get slaughtered. I don't think the benefit system was ever supposed to be a career choice. And I honestly, genuinely believe we have got to a point where not the people, before you all start jumping up and down, who are disabled or mentally ill, I think we have got to a point where, you know what, I'll just go on the dole. Not good enough. Get out of bed, get some skills, be made to work, put something on your CV, learn some structure to your day, right?
Yeah, and I'm traditional Labour. Tough on immigration, tough on people claiming benefits. That's
Simon.
traditional Labour. We've got a North London Labour now, and that doesn't suit the vast majority of the people in the country.
Well said, Simon. Ben, what did you say, just to finish?
Well, I just want to say, well said, Simon. You know, by that measure, I'm traditional Labour. You know, what is democracy if it's not the championing of the working and middle classes? That is what democracy is all about. And right now, they are being proverbially abused from a high level. It doesn't pay to work. As you say, it's a career choice to take benefits instead of get into the workforce. And of course, that kills aspiration, that kills motivation in the economy, and we end up in this downward sort of spiral in which the United Kingdom now finds itself. It's deeply depressing.
Gentlemen, I could talk all morning. Ben Habib, fantastic. Simon Danczuk, a real pleasure. Come back very soon.